a very external system.
All right, we're going to get started, okay?
All right. Good morning.
Good morning. I am Parole Officer Menard, a hearing examiner for the Board of Pardons and Paroles. This is a revocation hearing concerning Rodolfo Rodriguez, inmate number 412773. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. This is a hearing being conducted via video at the BOPP Central Office in Osborne Correctional Institution. Please state your full name and DOC inmate number for the record.
Rodolfo Rodriguez Jr., inmate number 412773.
This is a public hearing. Public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. Present this morning is Attorney Sirica. Can you please identify yourself for the record?
Sure. Attorney Alfonso Sirica with the Parole Revocation Unit on behalf of Mr. Rodriguez.
This is a revocation hearing to determine whether you have violated the conditions of your release. I will review and make findings of fact as to each of the charges against you. The state, not you, has the responsibility to prove the allegations by the preponderance of evidence. That is, the better or weightier evidence must establish that, more probably than not. Do not find that there is a preponderance of evidence to support a violation of one or more of the conditions of your parole. I will reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision.
Okay.
If I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will consider whether or not your parole should be revoked. If I recommend revocation, I will make a recommendation as to an appropriate sanction. My recommendation will be given to a panel for a final decision. If the panel wishes to impose a sanction beyond my recommendation, a supplemental hearing will be provided to justify additional confinement. You should know that a revocation hearing is an adversarial proceeding. Anything you say at this hearing can be used against you. This hearing is being recorded. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. Mr. Rodriguez, can you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go over the procedure for the hearing. First, I will read you your rights. You're all set, sir. Then we will review the parole violation charges that the state your parole officer is bringing against you. Then I will review and identify exhibits filed for the record. The state is not present at today's proceedings. However, you will have an opportunity to present any relevant testimony and any relevant documents. After considering all of the evidence presented, I will announce my findings. If I find that you've violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, you will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
No.
All right, we're going to go over your rights. You have the right to be represented by an attorney at this hearing, and counsel is present. You have the right to receive written notice of charges of violation. Did you receive written notice?
Yes, I did.
You have the right to review evidence against you before this hearing. You have a right to submit evidence in support of your case. At this hearing, you have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses and cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand these rights, and are you ready to go forward?
Yes, I understand.
We will now review the charges that the state your parole officer is bringing against you and the information underlying each charge. On charge number 1, condition of reporting, the charging officer reported your next court date for Parole and Community Services was on February 5th, 2026. You were called on the morning of February 5th, 2026 to remind you to report on February 5th, 2026 to the New Britain PD substation. You did not report to Parole and Community Services on February 5th, 2026. You called your parole officer on February 5th, 2026, stating you lost your sponsor on February 1st, 2026. You were directed to report to the Hartford District Office for 11 a.m. on February 6, 2026. You did not report to Hartford District Office on February 6, 2026. On charge number 2, condition of GPS, you had the GPS battery shut down on the following dates and times. On October 10th, 2025, 10:12 a.m. to 10:14 a.m. On November 19th, 2025, 7:29 p.m. to 7:55 p.m. On November 28th, 2025, 10:30 a.m. to 11:22 a.m. December 14th, 2025, 4:54 a.m. to 5:44 a.m. On December 16th, 25, 2:33 a.m. to 3:03 a.m. On January 7th, 2026, 4:32 p.m. to 4:37 p.m. On January 8th, 2026, 12:02 a.m. to 4:19 a.m. January 10th, 2026, 6:27 p.m. to 6:32 p.m. On January 18th, 2026, 7:23 a.m. to 9 a.m. And February 1st, 2026, 2:11 a.m. to 7:54 a.m. On February 3rd, 2026, your GPS battery died at approximately 4:59 p.m. You have not charged it since then and it stopped working on February 3rd, 2026. Your current whereabouts in the community are unknown at this time. Charge number 3, condition of curfew. You violated your parole and community service curfew on the following dates and times. November 29th, 2025, 9:05 p.m. to November 30th, 2025, 12:52 a.m. December 17th, 2025, 9:04 p.m. to 11:06 p.m. December 20th, 2025, 9:04 p.m. to December 12th, 21st, 2025, 1:30 a.m. December 21st, 2025, 1:40 a.m. to 3 a.m. December 22nd, 25, 9:04 p.m. to 9:07 p.m. December 25th, 25, 9:05 p.m. to 9:07 p.m. December 25th, 2025, 11:38 p.m. to December 26th, 2025, 2:10 a.m. January 3rd, 2026, 9:04 p.m. to 9:14 p.m. January 6th, 2026, 9:04 p.m. to 9:10 p.m. January 7th, 2026, 9:04 p.m. to 9:11 p.m. January 10th, 2026, 9:47 p.m. to January 11th, 3 a.m. January 17th, 2026, 9:52 p.m. to January 18th, 2026, 3 a.m. January 18th, 2026, 9:05 p.m. to 9:36 p.m. January 19th, 9:05 p.m. to January 20th, 2026, 3 a.m. January 22nd, 2026, 9:04 p.m. to 9:20 p.m. January 23rd, 26, 9:04 p.m. to 9:33 p.m. January 23rd, 2026, 9:53 p.m. to 10:17 p.m. January 30th, 2026, 9:05 p.m. to January 31st, 2026, 3 a.m. January 31st, 2026, 9:04 p.m. to 10:52 p.m. February 1st, 2026, 12:35 a.m. to 7:56 a.m. February 1st, 2026, 9:04 p.m. to 3 a.m. and February 2nd, 2026, 9:04 p.m. to 3 a.m. Charge number 4, condition of residence. On February 5th, 2026, you called your parole officer and stated that your parole and community service approved sponsor, which will not be read. I will not be reading the phone numbers and addresses that the PO included on the record. So it stated that your parole and community services approved sponsor no longer wants you living at her residence. You stated that your grandmother told you to leave on February 1st, 2026. You also stated your GPS charger is still at that residence. You stated you have been staying with different friends since February 1st, 2026, you were not given permission to move from your parole and community service approved residence. Charge number 5, condition of absconder. On February 5th, 2026, you were directed to report to the Hartford District Office for February 6th, 2026 at 11 a.m. On February 6th, 2026, you were sent a text message approximately at 11:17 a.m. asking you if you were on your way to the Hartford District Office. You responded back approximately at 11:39 a.m. On my way. You did not show up to the Hartford District Office at 11:39 a.m. You were sent several more text messages asking if you will report by 2 p.m. on February 6, 2026. You never contacted your parole officer again and did not report to the Hartford District Office on February 6, 2026. On February 11, 2026, an attempt to locate was executed at your previous parole-approved sponsor's residence. Your previous sponsor, your grandmother, allowed parole officers to search her residence. You were not found at the residence. On February 17th, 2026, New Britain Hospital and Hartford Hospital were both called, and both hospitals stated you are not a patient. Newington Police was also called on February 7th, 2026, and they stated you were not arrested. Your current whereabouts in the community are unknown at this time. Charge number 6, condition of obedience to the law. On March 5th, 2026, you were arrested by Windsor Police. Current charges are 53A-167A, interfering with the officer/resisting. 14-227A, subsection A, illegal operation of motor vehicle under influence/drugs. And 14-36, subsection A, operation motor vehicle without license. Based on your behaviors, you are in violation of your parole condition. Obey all laws, will obey all laws. The state is following the following exhibits that have been marked for identification purposes. In addition, the state's filed an addendum to the parole violation report that states, in reference to the parole violation report submitted by P.O. Del Payne regarding Rodriguez, inmate number 412773, the following applies. On February 26, 2026, the Board of Parole issued a warrant based on that report, declared Rodriguez an absconder from parole supervision. On March 4th, 2026, the case was assigned to the parole officer Pinto for investigation. On March 5th, 2026, Rodriguez was arrested by Windsor Police. Detailed below are Rodriguez's criminal charges of 53A-167A, interfering with an officer/resisting, 14-227A, subsection A, illegal operation of motor vehicle under influence/drugs, and 14-36, subsection A, operation motor vehicle without a license. On March 5th, 2026, a remand to custody order was lodged with Windsor Police. GA-14 is approved by Parole Supervisor Fayelia. On March 5th, 2026, Rodriguez was arraigned at Hartford GA-14 on this matter. Next court date is April 14th, 2026. On March 10th, 2026, Rodriguez was served his parole violation notice and parolee rights at Hartford Correctional Center. The signed notice of parole violation, parolee rights, Windsor Police reports, State of Connecticut, Judicial Branch pending case detail, and remand to custody were scanned into evidence in the case notes on March 10th, 2026. Addendums to follow to update criminal court case details. Addendum 2, in reference to the parole violation report submitted by P.O. Del Payne regarding Rodriguez, inmate number 412773, the following applies. On March 5th, 2026, Rodriguez was remanded to custody order due to parole absconder warrant. At that time, Rodriguez had criminal charges on a new arrest by Windsor Police. Criminal case on this matter was resolved on April 14th, 2026. Detailed 53A-167A, interfering with an officer/resisting, was nollied. 14 227A, subsection A, illegal operation of motor vehicle under the influence/drugs, was a guilty sentence of 120 days jail. And 14-36, subsection A, operating motor vehicle without a license was nollie. Attorney Sirica, did you receive the notice of parole violation report, and the other documents I just marked for identification purposes?
I did.
And did you review this information?
Yes.
The defense has filed the following exhibits, which are marked as follows. Exhibit 1, list of parole accomplishments and future plans for parole reinstatement. Today we have no witnesses. Attorney Sirica, do you request any witnesses?
No, just gonna ask my clients some verbal testimony.
It is now the defense's opportunity to call any witnesses, present evidence, and speak to any of the evidence submitted.
Yes, thank you. So Rodolfo, you were paroled on July 24th of 2025, correct?
Correct.
All right. And this is your first parole violation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When you were paroled on January 24th, 2025, how long did it take you to find employment?
I had employment first day I was out.
Okay, where were you working?
La Cocina Sabrosa.
Is it a restaurant, I'm assuming?
Yes, food truck.
Food truck, okay. And from July 24th up until the absconder charge of February 5th, how would you describe your relationship you had with your parole officer?
I was very communicative with him. He was a good parole officer. I didn't have no problem with him. The only thing was just the timing on the bracelet, because I was going to school and working.
Okay, yeah, I'm
So,
gonna ask you that. So just asking you about the PO, in your words, you had a good relationship with your parole officer, correct?
Correct.
All right, and you kept constant communication with your parole officer?
Yes, even on days I wasn't supposed to.
Okay. Under reporting, where you didn't report on February 5th of 2026, it says you didn't report, but you initiated a call to your parole officer, and you're the one that told your parole officer that you lost your sponsor, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Regarding charge number 2 under the shutdowns, Rodolfo, there's numerous shutdowns. Could you just let the hearing examiner know, at that point in time, I believe you indicated to me you were working at Aldi's at that point?
Correct.
What were your working hours?
My working hours, I was working a third shift. It was from 4:30 to 4 in the afternoon. And right when I get off work, I don't have no time. I just got to go straight to school and try to make it to Newington High School at 6:30 to 8:30, 9 o'clock the latest.
Okay, so you're working in Aldi's, and what were you trying to do in Newington High? You trying to get your GED?
My diploma, because I have 21 credits right now. I'm supposed to graduate this June 4th, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to graduate. I might have to make up for some time if I get released or go back to the halfway house or something. I don't know.
Okay. And regarding some of the shutdowns, you did call your parole officer and you did tell him that the sponsor didn't want you in the house and that the charger was at the sponsor's house, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was your parole officer aware of your hours you were working and at times you were asked to work doubles? Did you have any discussion with your parole officer regarding that?
Yes, every time I've had a double, I'll let them know like an hour before. One time I was late, so I didn't have really time to let him know that I was working a double. I forgot to send him the text, but I always kept on sending him texts, letting him know if I'm going to be late or if I'm going to do a double.
Okay, so you did communicate with your parole officer. You try to keep him up to date as to
Yeah.
your timeline. Okay. What time you were going to classes until?
I was going in at 6:30 and coming out 8:30, 9 o'clock the latest. So some nights I'll call him and
Right.
or send him a text and saying I won't be able to make it on time because I'm in school. He said
Okay.
he tell me it's all right.
All right. And how far from your Newington High School to where you were residing, if you recall, the approximate time it took to get from point A to point B?
From Newington to it took about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay. And the reason why I'm asking you that, some of these curfew violations, Rodolfo, I'm showing 9:04 to 9:07. If my math is correct, that's only 3 minutes. 9:05 p.m. to 9:07 p.m. is 2 minutes. And then there's, in January, there's a 10-minute one, there's a 6-minute one, there's a 7-minute one. So you're going from New Britain to Newington, roughly 20 minutes, correct? Depending which part of town you're coming from.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. And under charge number 4 under residence, Rodolfo, that charge is because you weren't living where you're supposed to be living per the approved parole residence. You, once again, you're the one that called your parole officer and you told them that I can no longer live there and my charger is at that house, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And is it a fair statement that on or about February 5th, when you did not report and you were under absconder status, did you feel you were going back to jail at that time?
Yeah, which is why I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to run. And I didn't want to keep contacting people trying to stay in the house. So which is why I was drinking, because I didn't know what to do. So I said, I got to go to jail. I got to do my time.
Okay. And that time frame from 2/5, ironically, exactly a month later, on March 5th is when you were arrested for the DUI, correct?
All right.
Okay. At any point in time from February 5th to March 5th of 20, did you ever leave the state of Connecticut? Did you ever go to Puerto Rico? Did you ever go to California? You were in the area the entire time, correct?
I was in an area the entire time.
Okay. And once again, as indicated, this is your first time you violated your parole, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And after I spoke to you, is it a fair statement that on February 5th, prior to you leaving and being off the grid for about a month, is it a fair statement, now that you've had a few months to sit and think, that you should have handled it a different way?
Yes, I wish I would have listened and trusted my parole officer, but I was afraid. I ain't know what to do.
Okay. No, I appreciate your honesty. I don't have anything else to add about the charges. I know the obedience to the law charge speaks for itself. And the reason why I typically talk about my client's background and his job is in the second part, but it's important to know is these charges here all tie into my client was working, was going to school. He did, I understand him at a couple of, he was in constant communication with his parole officer at all time, obviously up until February 5th. And then through his testimony, he realized he was going to be remanded, which led to some drinking, which led to the charge that he's here for. But he was charged with absconding, but at all times prior to that, he did maintain communication with my client, actually the one that picked up the phone and called his parole officer. Thank you.
Can I just, one clarifying question, the third shift, what time was he working?
Rodolfo, that was, I believe, is at the Aldi's warehouse, correct?
Correct.
Could you let the hearing examiner know what hours were you working at the third shift hours? Or whatever shift you were working.
It'll be from 4:30 or 5 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon or 4:30 in the afternoon. And then I'll just have to, right when I get off, I'll go straight to school. So I won't, because the traffic driving back is from Windsor, I gotta drive all the way to Newington. So sometimes there's traffic, I gotta stay stuck or I'll be late sometimes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other,
Not for this part of the hearing. No, I do want to be heard about his background at the appropriate time. Thank you.
I will now take a moment to review the case and will notify you of my findings in a moment. Charge 1, I find that you violated the condition of reporting based on the evidence presented in Exhibits A and D. On charge 2, I find that you violated the condition of GPS based on the evidence presented in State's Exhibits A, D, E, and H. On charge number 3, I find that you violated the condition of curfew based on the evidence presented in Exhibits A, D, E, and H. On charge number 4, I find that you violated condition of residence based on the evidence presented in States A and D. On charge 5, I find that you violated the condition of absconder based on the evidence presented in States Exhibits A and D. And on charge number 6, I find that you violated the condition of obedience to the law based on the evidence presented in States Exhibits A, D, and I. That concludes the fact-finding portion of this hearing. Before I make my recommendation, your attorney will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history. The purpose of this part of the revocation hearing is to help determine what outcome I will recommend. Attorney Sirica, do you wish to make a statement regarding the violation?
Yes. On behalf of Mr. Rodriguez, my client, he's 28 years old. He was born in Hartford. Upon his release, he was sponsored by his grandmother up until February 1st, where she no longer wanted him there. As my client indicated, upon his immediate release to parole supervision in July of 2025, he did obtain a job at a restaurant, and then followed by he was working at Aldi's at the time of his remand. He did, it looks like in approximately 2022, he did obtain his OSHA 10 certification from Stonehenge Landscaping Garden in Newington. He also reported he did obtain a certificate from Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery while incarcerated. He has already testified to, he's scheduled to graduate from Newington High School June 4th. He has completed most of the credits prior to the remand, but as he indicated, he's probably going to have to do some makeup classes in order to graduate, and he was going to classes from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. and then he was working at after working at Aldi's. He also did obtain his forklift license while employed at Aldi's warehouse. As far as his other employment, since he's been out full-time at World Class Distribution Trader Joe's in Bloomfield until he got a better job at Aldi's. He did report to us, he did complete an intake at Wheeler Clinic in Britain, but he was not recommended for treatment, but he did do the intake. Since he's been incarcerated, he's also working in the kitchen. He is amenable to being placed in a halfway house in New Haven. It's his first choice, or Hartford is his second choice. It's indicated from the parole officer. He does not have a sponsor, so that's why we're requesting the halfway house. He does want to obtain his high school diploma. It did indicate to us if he is placed in Hartford, he's reported to us he's able to return to his job at Aldi's, and he's amenable to any treatment recommendation. Rodolfo, anything I left out about your background or what you want to do when you get out? Now's your opportunity. If you feel I missed something, you can certainly add to it.
I get out, I just want to work my way step by step back into the community instead of just going straight to a sponsor like I did last time. And I don't think I was ready for society yet, which is why I'm asking if you guys can help me. I'm asking for a halfway house so that I can work my way back in step by step so I won't just be thrown out there.
Thank you.
And anything else before I make my recommendation?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
I've listened to your testimony and reviewed all the evidence provided. Based on that, I recommend that your parole be revoked with a new re-parole date of July 6, 2026. That is an approximate 4-month sanction. This is a sanction is calculated from the date you were remanded to custody. The following conditions are recommended: halfway house, no alcoholic beverage consumption, and no operation of motor vehicle. My findings and recommendations will be forwarded to the board on May 14th, 2026. You should receive the official written decision from the board within a week from that date. The board may lessen the recommended sanction, let my recommended sanction stand, or impose a sanction longer than what I've recommended. If the board decides to impose a sanction longer than what I have recommended, then a supplemental hearing will be held. Before the hearing, the board will provide you with written notice documenting the specific reasons why they might want to exceed my recommendation. During the supplemental hearing, you will have an opportunity to respond to those specific reasons while in front of the panel of the board. This concludes the revocation hearing. I am now going off the record.
Yes, if I may go off the record. So Rodolfo, just explain to you, hopefully you understand. So your new re-parole date is July 6th, which coincides with the sentence from court. Okay.
Okay.
It's going, as I explained to you, it's going to the parole board for them to vote on it on May 14th to see if they adopt that recommendation. Okay. If they adopt that recommendation, your potential release date is July 6th. But here's what you need to understand. Okay. You are on discretionary parole, so it's different than special parole. So even if the board adopts the recommendation for your July 6th release date, for discretionary parole, it's on or after date. So even if they adopt it, you might not get out exactly on July 6th, okay? It's shortly thereafter, but it's special parole. They have to release you that date. Discretionary parole is a little bit different. It's on or after date. But you will know prior to, after May 14th, about a week later, they're going to send you a report to let you know if they adopted the recommendation. Or if you want to know quicker, call our office that Friday, and we can tell you over the phone if they adopted it or not. Okay. And you'll get it in writing about a week later. Any questions?
No, thank you for your help, man.
All right. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.